There is no out-of-state investing without good property managers. Keyword good, most of them are not that. And even when you do find one that passes muster, you play a crucial role in their success. And by their success, I mean whether your rental property makes money every month or loses money every month. So take some notes here. I got 7 golden rules for you to help you pick them right, vet them right, and run your property as profitably as possible once you own it and the management company takes over. We're gonna get this thing kickstarted with a giveaway before we go into all these pro tips that I'm about to give you today. 25 free copies of the legendary rental property calculator or anything else from the ACE Toolkit store per the usual. The coupon code is good for 25, first come, first serve. This video is posted on a lot of platforms. It gets a lot of views. These things do go fast. So hurry up. The code is PM101. The letter P, the letter M, 101, all lowercase, one word. You enter it at checkout. If it doesn't work, that means you just got to pay 45 bucks for it or keep waiting. You might spend the rest of your life waiting to get a rental property calculator. You might spend 45 bucks and actually get some deals. You choose your fate there. The code is not good for the course. The Virtual Investor's Guide it's never been discounted. It's really high value. It's not very expensive. It's the cost of a home inspection. If you want to actually be able to invest out of state, it's your A to Z field manual. It's going to teach you the entire process. It's not like some general theoretical bullshit, right? Gives you some background, got the beginner-friendly portion up front, and then shows you step by step how we do it ourselves. I think we had 15 closings this week, 2 of the 17 delayed till next. We use those methods to close that many properties, of course, at a commercial level, but it'll give you that jump start if you really want to get going on your out-of-state investing program. Anyways, that's enough plugs. Let's jump right into these golden rules of property management, of making property management work, particularly for the out-of-state investor. I've got 7 for you. There's no particular format here. I'm going to go in as reasonable an order as possible. I think these should make sense, kind of chronological in nature. The first one is Google reviews are your best friend. So if you don't know someone that's a credible source, you're looking at one right here, that can tell you who the best property manager in a market is that you're going to believe, just hop on Google. If you're in a major city or even a secondary, go property management, LaPorte, Indiana, right? Property management, Racine, Wisconsin, property management, Cleveland, Ohio. And you're going to have a big list if you're in a big city. You want to try to find the one that has the most reviews and the highest reviews, a combination of the two. Usually the ones that have like 1,000 reviews don't have very high reviews. If they do, good for you, right? But that's going to be your list of people to vet. A lot of Google reviews, high reviews. If you don't have like a clear go-to referral, that's the way we do it. It's not, don't overcomplicate it. It's not that crazy. If you see some lower reviews, see if it's just a tenant thing or if you see if it's investors as well. Get a feel for what's happening in there. But really just make a list of all the ones that have like above 4 stars and above like 30, 40, 50 reviews. And those are your people that you probably want to call and interview. The second pro tip is ask a pal. So some of our best property management companies have come through referrals. But the thing is, referrals aren't always that great. Like going on a Bigger Pockets forum and seeing what people say, like some newbie investor who like maybe just bought their first turnkey property and has owned it for a month, they're going to tell you their manager and tell you they love them. That doesn't really mean shit, right? But if you've got people that are active in these markets, that are operators that are successful, that are getting deals at below market and improving them and managing them long-term and have a decent amount of units, and they tell you go for this management company, that is a great resource. Some of these management companies are lesser known. They're a little smaller, they're a little mom and pop, but they still do a really good job. You just don't want to take a chance on them without someone else's stamp of approval. If you don't know these active players in this market, pro tip for you, you know an active player in these markets, right? So if it's Midwest and some southern states, we've probably looked at it. And if we haven't, like some of the places that we've kind of asked about management about this week, we've got 400,000 people that we could ask for their management referral. So feel free to, shoot me a message if it's a market that you've seen us operate in. I'm happy to help you out. Golden rule number 3, anyone can interview. Here's what you really need to look for. They've all got their interview script down. You don't want to ask them, hey, do you guys place tenants pretty well? What about your advertising photos? They're going to tell you everything's good and great and they're the best management company in the area. The worst management companies in certain cities have told us straight up after knowing them for a while and using them and them sucking that they think they're the best management company in the area, which is hilarious. So what you really want to ask for, because they could fool you at any point in time, your best bet is figuring out certain tangible items. The first thing I want to know is, what does LVP flooring cost to install? Because that's such a common thing, and it's really hard to outsource the paint and floor jobs until you really invest in relationships with contractors. It's easy to outsource a roof or a furnace, right? So you want to figure out what a unit turn costs. Are they marking up the paint like crazy? Are they marking up the flooring like crazy? A $5 to $6 installed LVP is reasonable. 6 to 7 is still somewhat reasonable. Some places tell you 8 to 10, and I know they're ripping me off. Same with paint, right? Are you repainting a whole place for $2,500 with trim and maybe ceilings or include some cabinets or something like that? If it's a 2-bedroom apartment, cool. You got to figure those out early on. The next thing you want to know in their interview is what's the management software that they use. If they tell you nothing, or they're using some like random bullshit management software that you Google online, like it's like the 50th result and it's a janky website, they're probably cheap and they're probably not very well organized. I want to see Appfolio or Buildium, and sometimes I'll make exceptions like Propertyware or some bullshit like that if they seem like they're checking every other box. You want to ask them, the third thing you really want to look for on these calls is, what are the no-go regions for them? And what I'd ask is, I want to be in the highest cash flow part of town where you could successfully and viably manage. Where's that line? What's on the other side of that? Where can't you provide that consistent result? So that way I'm not hunting for properties in these areas. These guys don't just help you manage, they help you do market research and help you refine your acquisitions plan as well. And the last thing I'm asking them is, do you have a relationship with the local housing authority for Section 8 placements? Do you have all the contacts that are kind of between the lines, right? Not over there on their website, because those are the people that are damn near necessary to successfully place these tenants, get the leases locked in, get the increases locked in, because administratively, these housing authorities are usually horrible. A management company that has relationships with individuals that are not publicly listed in them, that's going to be your key to being able to place Section 8 tenants. And Section 8 tenants are not just for C-class properties. I'm not saying I prefer them. I won't get into an area if Section 8 is the only thing that works, unless I really, really know that market and really know that management company and I'm confident in the product or the deal is right. But it's good to have that as an option if you are dealing with high yield or affordable housing. If you're in B areas and above, I guess it doesn't matter. Even if you're in C+ areas and above, I guess it doesn't matter so much. But it's nice to know if you do want access to that tenant class. And when you ask for these 4 things that I've just given you might have to just rewind and just see what the 4 were again, because I don't want to repeat them all a million times. You want to make sure that you're able to get to an answer. And if the person you're talking to is like literally front desk and can't give you an answer, you need to have the ability, while you're still out there vetting management companies, to talk to someone that can give you those answers. If you can't get to the property manager, or in many cases for these companies, they're not very big, the owner for a conversation, if you're a serious investor, then you don't want to work with them, right? If you're stuck at gatekeeper, you don't want to work with them. So anyone can interview. That's what you want to look for in the interviews. Golden rule number 4, backups are necessary. I will flat out I'll dump a city. I won't even look for properties there if I've only got one viable management option. By viable, I mean one that just checks the boxes well enough that I'd be willing to take a shot at a pretty clean, pretty stable property with them. I'm not going to go throw high risk stuff at any management company that I don't have a deep relationship with, right? Once I do, then I'll buy anything. I rebuild foundations. I'll buy total gut jobs for 10K, whatever, right? But when you're getting into a market, you want to play it safe, and you want to make sure you have a backup that you're willing to take a safe property to. If your one management company fails and you own 8, 10, 12, 15, 30 units, whatever it is in that market, then you're screwed in that market. Your properties are either going to underperform going with a shittier backup option, or you're just not going to have an option. You're going to have to live with this crappy manager, or just sell your properties in an unstable state, which is a really bad situation to be in. So you need to have a backup. Number 5 is your expectations need to be right, because every management company is going to suck at something, right? They're either going to be really good at placing tenants. I have a management company that gets me $4.25 LVP installed. That is amazing, right? But they're not the fastest at marketing units and getting them filled. I don't care. I buy a lot of projects. So if they're willing to take on anything and they get the rehab done for me for cheap, then having it sit for a month before it gets filled, or a month and a half if it's like further out from their normal sphere, but they're willing to take it on for me and stabilize it for me. I've had commercial units that have sat for a while because that's just not their thing. I'm okay with living with that. Maybe that means that's just the area that I follow up harder in, or my analyst here who manages our portfolio. I don't manage the portfolio anymore. He's following up harder and making sure he's staying on top of this area, but he's understanding that he doesn't have to be hyper vigilant, not hyper diligent. That would work too though. He doesn't have to be hyper vigilant about rehab projects with them. They're going to send you a great quote right out the gates, and he just checks in periodically, and they're getting it started soon. They're getting it done pretty quickly. The result is good, and it's the right price, and he doesn't have to overly worry about properties that are a little marginal because he knows what they'll take on, that they'll take on a lot of stuff for us, right? So you're working harder on the area that's not their strong suit, and you're trusting a little bit more on the area that they do outperform in. Every management company is going to be good at some things and not as good at others, and it's your job to make sure you fill in those gaps or you follow up in those areas that are not as strong. Have the right expectations. If you're that asshole client, like the people that, the type of person that the server at the restaurant hates, right? You're not going to have a good experience owning real estate, period, because either you're going to be stuck doing everything yourself, or your management companies are going to fire you, or you're just going to hate them constantly. Just get into a more passive and predictable asset that doesn't involve people performing. And please never become an employer if you're that type of person. Rule number 6, ride 'em cowboy. That's literally what I have written down in my paper. The biggest mistake I'll see people make is they'll go months without reviewing their statements. Just look at the draws. It's coming in low. They don't follow up on it. And then after 3 months, they come back to us and complain and go, I didn't collect any income from this tenant in 3 months. I'm like, well, did you say anything on the 15th day of the first month when you got your automated statement from Appfolio showing that income hasn't been received? Well, no. Well, shit, dude. You've got to look at every single line item on every statement that's generated. And there are live statements in some of these softwares like Buildium. Appfolio produces one on the 15th and the 1st. It'll tell you all the income and all the expenses in ledger format. It's super easy to read. You should look and see, is my income coming in as expected at every period where the information's released? If not, you're following up. You should look at the expenses. Do these make sense? Is this what I expect? Is there a scope of work I didn't approve or an amount that I wouldn't have liked to pay? Ask your questions, understand what's going on. Request changes from the management company, or at least that's your trigger to go out and find a different contractor or a handyman to support on certain things, right? Or at least it's your trigger to fire him and go find another one sooner instead of waiting 3, 4, 5, 6 months and getting deeper in the hole before you make a switch, right? Know what's going on with your property, ask your questions, and oftentimes these management companies, they have a lot of clients, guys. You're not their only one. So if they've got 1,000 units under management across 200 or 300 different investors, there's a lot of service. That's why a lot of big management companies try not to take people on in certain markets that only have one property or don't ever want to buy more than one property or one unit, because they're adding more clients adds more service, right? But if you have several clients, then you have fewer emails to respond to or fewer people to talk to all at once. If they have 200, 300 clients and the top 50 or 60 are in front of them constantly, they're replying to those emails, and you're not going to get the same level of service naturally. Now, be within reason, don't overdo it and expect too much, but you got to be on top of your shit. And that is a major key to success with any rental property, not just my stuff, not just cheap stuff, not just Midwestern stuff, not just C, not just B, literally any rental property. Even if you're managing yourself, you got to be on top of it. But when you have someone else operating your business for you, regardless of what that business is, real estate or not, you have to know what's going on and be able to address things as soon as they occur. Blind spots will quietly bleed you out. So that's number 6, ride them. Number 7, and there's a reason this is last, build your book. Find the best management company you can that'll satisfy your property's needs. Start with a stable, easy property that doesn't have a lot of complex needs. And then as needs arise, a roof comes in, they send you a quote, the quote's 12. You go, well, what else can I get? And you go and hit some contractors, a bunch of them, like literally 10, 12, 15, whatever it takes. And then you find out the contractor that's reliable, that'll get you the quote for $8,500. Now you've got them in your back pocket. When you add your next property, you know that you're not scared of a roof. You've got an advantage there, right? You've got that figured out. Add these contractors first for the major mechanicals and structural components. Like we've got a great foundation contractor in Northern Indiana. I'm not scared of properties that need foundation work out there. I get it knocked out cheap, the right scope. Give me the project. I'll probably get it at a big discount and I'll get it fixed for a very low cost, right? So build your book of business, add these people. The last people you want to add, it takes time, it's difficult, are the unit turn folks. So early on, that's why I really prioritize talking to management companies about unit turns and making sure they can handle it before I have to go out and hunt for someone that, handles a cosmetic job. A cosmetic job is not just one item that's getting done. It's a lot of different things. So it's not that easy to monitor remotely, right? It takes a little bit of an investment. You got to have some units. It's got to be worthwhile. Hopefully your management company can handle it for pretty cheap until you find that person. And those are the 7, guys. I'll give you a quick recap. We've gone over on Instagram time, so you're on YouTube watching me now because it only lets you have 15 minutes on IG. Number 1 is Google reviews are your best friend when you're picking them. Number 2 is ask a pal. I'm your pal if you don't have another pal, right? But preferably ask your other pals. If you can't find them, then hit me up because I don't respond to a lot of DMs. The inbox is kind of blown up. But I'll try. Number 3, anyone can interview. You want to look for certain key things in that interview that they can't really just kind of finesse their way around. Number 4 is backups are absolutely necessary. Don't get into a market without a backup manager that's viable. You think they're good enough. Number 5 is, they all have strong suits. They all have weaknesses, right? You got to understand those. You got to be reasonable, have the right expectations, and then kind of work to supplement the stuff that needs to be improved upon with them. Number 6 is ride them, know what's going on with your property. And number 7 is build your book of business outside of your management company. You don't want to be overly reliant on any one person to cover too many of your business's needs. As your business grows bigger, the risk of relying on a single supplier or service provider grows higher because you have more money that they're controlling for you, right? So hopefully this helped you guys feel more confident in your management choices. It's actually pretty black and white. A lot of it's in the product that you choose. So take just a little step forward on your first deal, buy something clean that you're not going to have to rely on the management company to be perfect at, and then learn and progress from there. Have a great weekend, y'all.